Welcome to our deep dive today.
Okay.
And we're going to be exploring personal finance,
Right.
but with a bit of a twist.
Okay.
So our source material today is actually a devotional text
Okay.
that looks at money through the lens of evangelical Christian beliefs.
Interesting.
I know that might sound a little niche,
Yeah.
but trust me,
Okay.
there are some genuinely fascinating ideas in here
Mm-hmm.
that I think can resonate with anyone, regardless of their personal beliefs.
I think so too.
Yeah.
At its core,
Yeah.
this text explores the intersection of faith and finances.
Right.
It really prompts us to consider how our values and beliefs shape our relationship with money.
Absolutely. And one of the first things that jumped out at me
Okay.
was this concept of generational blessings.
Oh, yeah.
It's presented as almost like this foundational idea
Mm-hmm.
in managing your finances.
Interesting.
Have you ever encountered that concept before?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
The idea of generational blessings, or for that matter, curses, is not unique to evangelical Christianity.
Okay.
You see echoes of it in various cultures and belief systems.
Interesting.
Like, think about concepts like karma,
Right.
or the idea of leaving a legacy
Yeah.
for your descendants.
So taking that a step further then,
Okay.
how do you think this concept of actions having consequences
Mm-hmm.
that extend beyond our own lives
Mhm.
might challenge like the very individualistic
Yeah.
financial advice we often hear today?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
It definitely presents a different perspective.
Right.
So much of like modern personal finance focuses on maximizing individual wealth
Right.
and achieving financial independence.
Mm.
But this text encourages us to think beyond ourselves
Okay.
and to consider the long-term impact of our financial decisions
Uh-huh.
on future generations.
Yeah.
So it's less about me and more about us and the
Yeah.
legacy we leave behind.
It really makes you pause and think about the ripple effect of our choices, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like, are we just managing money? Or are we shaping a financial legacy
Yeah.
that extends far beyond our own lifespan?
Exactly. And that leads to some interesting questions about how we approach things,
Okay.
like investing
Right.
or charitable giving.
Yeah.
Like, if we truly believe our financial decisions can impact future generations,
Yeah.
does it change our strategy?
Right.
Do we become more conservative,
Right.
more focused on long-term sustainability?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fascinating concept to grapple with.
It really is. And speaking of grappling with concepts,
Okay.
this devotional also highlights a proverb from Proverbs 3.16.
Okay.
Wisdom offers you long life in her right hand and riches and honor in her left.
Interesting.
It's interesting how it links wisdom directly to wealth and prosperity.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's crucial to remember that wisdom in this context is
Mhm.
multifaceted.
Okay.
It's not just about being financially savvy.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of life,
Okay.
embracing strong values, and making ethical choices.
So it's not just about getting rich. It's about living a life
Right.
where your actions align with a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, your values and how you move through the world ultimately contribute to both material and spiritual well-being.
Precisely.
It's a very holistic approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It raises the question, how do you
Mhm.
define wisdom? And how does that definition play into your financial decisions
Mm.
or even broader life choices?
Right.
Are those two things in sync for you?
That's a powerful question to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this text also dives into some really practical advice.
Okay.
The age-old distinction between needs and wants.
Right.
There's a quote from Proverbs 21.20
Okay.
that really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Precious treasures and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it.
Wow. That proverb beautifully illustrates the core message
Yeah.
about needs versus wants.
It does.
It's not about deprivation. It's
Mhm.
about making conscious choices that align with your values.
Mhm.
And long-term well-being,
Right.
it's about recognizing that resources are precious and should be treated with respect,
Absolutely.
not squandered on fleeting desires.
You know, it's funny how easy it is to get swept up in those fleeting desires.
It is.
I think we've all been there.
We have.
But the text really emphasizes the importance of discernment.
Okay.
How can we become better at recognizing the difference between those genuine needs
Mm-hmm.
and those tempting wants?
The text offers some practical guidance on that.
Okay.
It suggests paying attention to the longevity of a desire.
Okay.
So a need tends to be consistent,
Right.
something you require for your basic well-being and survival.
Right, like food, shelter.
Exactly. Those are non-negotiable.
Right.
Wants, on the other hand,
Yeah.
tend to be fleeting.
Okay.
They change with the trends.
Right.
That new gadget that you're eyeing might seem essential today,
Right.
but will it matter a year from now?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the question to ask yourself.
Yeah. It's so true. It's like that age-old struggle between instant gratification
Yes.
and long-term fulfillment.
And this text argues that true fulfillment comes from prioritizing needs
Okay.
and making wise choices about your wants.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages us to adopt a mindset of stewardship,
Okay.
recognizing that our resources are a gift,
Right.
not something to be taken for granted.
Absolutely. So if we're trying to live with that kind of intentionality, this text suggests that we need to acknowledge that God will provide for our needs,
Okay.
not necessarily our wants.
Right.
And that's where Philippians 4:19 comes in.
Okay.
And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus.
And that verse, I think, is a comfort to many.
Right.
It offers a sense of security and reassurance,
Right.
reminding us that we're not alone
Mhm.
in our financial journeys.
It's not about sitting back and waiting for a handout, though, right?
It's about aligning our actions with our faith,
Okay.
seeking guidance and trusting that we'll be provided for.
You know, it strikes me that there's a powerful connection between that sense of being provided for and this idea of contentment,
Yes.
which the text also talks about.
Right.
And it makes a very specific distinction between being satisfied
Okay.
and being stagnant.
That's such a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
Contentment, as this text presents it,
Okay.
isn't about settling or becoming complacent.
Right.
It's about finding peace and gratitude
Okay.
in your current situation while still striving for growth and improvement.
Right. So it's not about just accepting where you are
Exactly.
and not doing anything about it,
Right.
but it's about being grateful for where you are
Yes.
while still looking to improve.
It's about recognizing that true wealth goes beyond material possessions.
Right.
It's about finding joy in the journey,
Right.
not just the destination.
Yeah. It reminds me of 1 Timothy 6:6-12,
Okay.
which warns against the dangers of greed and the pursuit of wealth as an end in itself.
Right.
It suggests that true contentment stems from godliness with contentment,
Yes.
not from material possessions.
Right.
It's easy to lose sight of that in our consumer-driven culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It challenges us to examine our values and redefine what truly brings us fulfillment and lasting joy. Are we chasing fleeting pleasures or seeking something deeper and more meaningful?
And this leads us to a really intriguing point that I wouldn't have expected from a text about finances.
Okay.
This connection between joy and financial well-being.
Interesting.
The text suggests that a joyful Christian is a good advertisement
Yeah.
for their faith.
Yeah.
It's a very specific perspective, I know,
It is.
but I think the underlying message is fascinating.
It is within the framework of evangelical Christianity.
Right.
This concept is deeply rooted in the idea of evangelism and witnessing
Okay.
by living a joyful and fulfilling life, even amidst financial challenges.
Yeah.
The idea is that you demonstrate the power of your faith
Okay.
and inspire others.
Okay, so almost like a living testimony.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
even outside that specific context,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think there's something powerful about the idea that joy can be infectious, that it can inspire others and have a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
It's about letting your inner light shine.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the idea that our financial lives are not just about numbers and spreadsheets,
Right.
but about how we choose to live, how we relate to others, and the impact we have on the world around us.
Exactly.
So it's really about a lot more than just money.
It is.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to this idea of seeking God's guidance.
Okay.
In our financial decisions, a concept this text emphasizes repeatedly.
Right.
There's a passage in Matthew 7:7
Okay.
that says, "Ask, and it shall be given. You seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you."
This verse, I think, speaks to the importance of actively seeking wisdom and direction, not just in our finances, but in all areas of our lives.
Yeah.
It suggests that there's a higher power who wants to guide us
Right.
if we're open to receiving that guidance.
And it's not just about passively asking either.
Right. It's about actively seeking
Okay.
and persistently knocking,
Yeah.
demonstrating a genuine desire to align your will with a higher purpose.
which I imagine can be incredibly comforting, especially when you're facing financial challenges or uncertainty.
It can.
It's like having a guiding light to help you navigate through the darkness.
Precisely. And this text reminds us that God wants to provide that guidance and support.
Right.
It's just a matter of being open to receiving it. It's about cultivating a sense of faith and trust that can bring peace and clarity even in the midst of financial storms.
And this dovetails beautifully with another passage the text highlights.
Okay.
Psalm 37.4-6.
Okay.
Which says, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun."
That's a beautiful passage.
It is.
Full of imagery and hope.
And it speaks to the power of aligning our desires with God's will.
Yes.
It suggests that when we seek God's guidance and commit our ways to him, our desires will naturally align with his purposes,
right?
Leading to true fulfillment and blessings. It's a powerful reminder that true abundance comes from seeking God's will above all else.
Yeah.
And that's a message that can resonate with anyone, regardless of their belief system.
Absolutely. This devotional text is rooted in a specific faith tradition.
Right.
But the principles it highlights have broader applications.
Okay.
For instance, this idea of seeking wisdom, discerning needs versus wants,
Right.
and finding joy in generosity.
Yeah.
These transcend religious boundaries.
Right. They're really universal principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are principles that can enrich anyone's life. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, completely. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're exploring these concepts through a specific lens. But the underlying messages have this universal appeal.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with something larger than ourselves,
Right.
living with intention, and finding true fulfillment beyond material possessions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really thought-provoking stuff.
It is.
It's like we're uncovering these hidden gems of wisdom that have been around for centuries,
Yeah.
but are so relevant to our lives today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take the idea of generational blessings, for example.
Right.
While the term itself comes from a religious context,
Okay.
the underlying principle of considering the long-term consequences of our actions,
Right.
not just for ourselves, but for future generations, is incredibly powerful and applicable to anyone,
Right.
regardless of their beliefs.
It's like expanding our circle of responsibility
Yes.
beyond our own immediate needs and desires.
And that shift in perspective can have a profound impact on how we approach everything from financial planning
Right.
to environmental stewardship. It encourages us to think about the kind of world we're leaving behind for our children and grandchildren.
It's a legacy we're building.
Exactly.
Not just with our money, but with our actions and choices.
And that leads us to another concept from the text that resonated with me.
Okay.
The emphasis on wisdom
Right.
as a guiding principle in our financial lives.
Okay.
Now, as we discussed earlier, wisdom in this context goes beyond just being good with money.
Right.
It's about aligning our actions with our values and making choices that lead to both material and spiritual well-being.
So how do we cultivate that wisdom?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a bit of both.
Okay.
Some people may have a natural inclination
Sure.
towards wise decision-making,
Right.
but it's also a skill
Okay.
that can be honed through experience, reflection, and learning from our mistakes.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this text encourages us to embark on that journey
Okay.
by actively seeking guidance, not just from financial advisors,
Right.
but from a higher power,
Right.
from mentors, and from the wisdom of those who have come before us.
And that brings us back to the concept of contentment,
Yes.
which the text distinguishes from complacency.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Okay.
between being grateful for what we have
Right.
and striving for growth and improvement.
It's about recognizing that true contentment
Yeah.
isn't tied to our net worth
Right.
or the size of our bank account.
It's an inner state of peace and gratitude that allows us to appreciate the abundance in our lives, even amidst challenges.
And that's a powerful message,
It is.
especially in a culture that often equates happiness
Yeah,
with material possessions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that true wealth lies not in what we own, but in the quality of our relationships,
Right.
the depth of our experiences, and the richness of our inner lives.
It's about finding joy in the simple things.
Yes.
The things that money can't buy.
And that brings us to the last concept I want to highlight.
Okay.
The idea that generosity is a natural outflow
Okay.
of contentment and joy.
Okay, so when we're content with what we have,
Yes.
we're more likely to be generous with our resources, our time, and our talents.
It's like our hearts open up,
Right.
and we want to share that abundance with others.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing about generosity
Yeah,
is that it creates a ripple effect.
it does.
When we give freely, it inspires others to do the same, creating a cycle of kindness and compassion.
It's like that old saying, the more you give, the more you receive.
Right.
But not in a material sense.
Right. It's about the abundance that comes from a heart filled with gratitude
Yes.
and
I
generosity.
couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that true wealth is about so much more than just money.
It is.
It's about living a life of purpose, meaning, and impact.
I love how this deep dive has taken us beyond the typical personal finance advice.
You too.
It's not just about budgeting and investing. It's about aligning our financial lives with our values, our beliefs, and our deepest desires
Right.
for a life well lived.
It's about recognizing that our finances are not just a means to an end, but a reflection of our values and priorities.
They're a powerful tool that
Yeah.
can be used to create a life of purpose, meaning, and impact.
So as we wrap up this fascinating exploration,
Okay.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right.
What resonated with you most from this deep dive?
Well, it's been a rich discussion, hasn't it?
It really has.
We've covered a lot of ground exploring the intersection of faith and finances
Yeah.
from a unique perspective.
And I think it's safe to say that this devotional text offers a refreshing take on personal finance,
It does.
one that goes beyond the practicalities of budgeting and investing to explore the deeper meaning and purpose
Right.
behind our financial choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it reminds us that our financial lives are not just about numbers and spreadsheets, but about how we choose to live, how we relate to others,
Yes.
and the impact we have on the world around us.
So to wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
All right.
How might cultivating a sense of gratitude and joy in your financial life,
Okay.
regardless of your current circumstances, impact your overall well-being and your relationships with others?
Something to ponder, isn't it?
It is.
How might shifting our focus from scarcity to abundance,
Right.
from anxiety to contentment, transform not only our own lives,
Yeah.
but also the lives of those around us?
It's a powerful idea,
It is.
and one that I hope will stay with you long after this episode ends.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating and ever-evolving world of knowledge.
And remember, the journey of financial well-being is not just about reaching a destination,
Right.
but about the growth, the learning, and the connections we make along the way.
It really has been an interesting conversation.
It has.
You know who knew a deep dive into a devotional text could spark so many interesting thoughts about personal finance?
It's proof that wisdom and insight can come from unexpected places.
That's true.
And I think what's been so compelling about this particular text is that it encourages us to think about money not just as a tool for accumulating wealth,
Right.
but as a resource that can be used to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
It's like reframing our entire relationship with money. Instead of viewing it through a lens of scarcity and fear,
Yeah.
we're invited to approach it with a sense of abundance and gratitude.
And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering.
It can.
It allows us to move beyond the anxiety and stress
Yeah.
that often surrounds money
Right.
and tap into a deeper sense of purpose and intentionality.
So much what we've discussed today boils down to that idea of aligning our financial decisions with our values.
Absolutely.
Whether those values stem from a religious framework or a personal code of ethics.
It's about recognizing that money is a powerful force that can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
It's up to us to choose how we want to wield that power.
And that choice, I think, is ultimately what shapes our financial legacy.
It does.
It's not just about the dollars and cents.
Right.
It's about the impact we have on the world around us, the lives we touch, and the values we embody.
It's about recognizing that our financial journey is intertwined with our spiritual and emotional well-being.
So true.
They all influence and impact one another.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with the final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
How might cultivating a sense of gratitude and joy in your financial life, regardless of your current circumstances, impact your overall well-being and your relationships with others?
That's a question worth pondering.
It is.
Imagine how our lives might change if we shifted our focus from what we lack
Yeah.
to what we have, from comparing ourselves to others to
Right.
appreciating our own unique journey.
It's about embracing the abundance that already exists in our lives
Yes.
and allowing that abundance to flow outward touching the lives of those around us.
It's a simple shift in perspective,
It is.
but it has the power to transform not only our own lives,
Right.
but also the world around us.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of faith and finances.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are leaving with a renewed sense of purpose and inspiration in your own financial journey.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.